Okay, so this is the writing section, section B of paper 2. It's worth 40 marks, so it's half the marks of paper 2, and clearly that's going to mean it's a quarter of your overall GCSE English grade, so it's really worth knowing how to do this well. 40 marks, we've got 24 marks for the content of what you write and how you organise it, and 16 marks for your technical accuracy. That's your spelling, punctuation, grammar, your sentences, etc., the cohesion of it all. So obviously there's a lot of marks there available, so I really do advise that you check your work really well. So for 40 marks, you've got a 1 hour 45 paper 2, 15-minute reading time leaves you 1 hour 30, leaves you about 45 minutes for section A and 45 minutes for this section B. 10 minutes planning, 5-10 minutes planning, 30 minutes writing, 5 minutes checking your answer, roughly around those kind of timings. Being told something more suitable to you, such as 7 minutes planning, whatever it is, that's fine, but those are rough guidelines. Okay, so these questions normally give you a statement from someone and then they ask you to do something on that topic. So let's take a look. So this statement says, someone's point of view, okay, school summer holidays are too long. Most students get bored as the weeks drag on and they forget much of what they have learned. So there's a few things being said there. One of the attitudes in this statement is that the holidays go on for too long. Boredom sets in, you don't appreciate being off school, and it damages your learning. And it finishes with this statement that students should spend more time at school. So that seems to be suggesting that we should make the school holidays shorter and the terms longer. Okay. That statement may help you, it may not. It just introduces, maybe to give a few ideas. It gives you the idea about boredom, about learning, about the length of term. There's a few ideas to get you going. Okay. The actual task is very specific though. It says write an article for a broadsheet newspaper. So tabloids are those smaller papers that sometimes are a bit less formal. Sometimes they put less serious news in, not all the time, but sometimes they do. And these broadsheet papers are those big newspapers that you see people reading on, business people reading on trains and things, yeah. So like the Times, the Guardian, papers that are seen are a bit more serious about the news. So that kind of gives you an idea that you might use some humour in this article, but it's got to be for an educated adult audience. It can't be really chatty and really full of slang and things like that. It's got to be something for educated adults. So it's quite a challenging task, okay? In which you explain your point of view on this statement. Now explaining, I think this because of this, is probably not very effective. With really looking at argue, persuade, where you use lots of established features, persuasive and argue features to actually get your points across and do it really well. So one thing you want to think about here is the form. The form of this is a newspaper article. Okay, pen's not working so well. The language, obviously, in that sense, it's got to be formal. We can have some humour in it and things, but we're really aiming for educated adults. So the audience, we're really talking about a sort of educated adult readership, aren't we? And the purpose, argue, persuade are not exactly the same thing, but they share some features in common. Argue is usually a bit more forceful, persuade is usually a bit more gentle and suggestive. Okay, so you'll see in my example answer I emailed to you how I do a full plan for this. Think about the features I'm going to use, the vocabulary I'm going to use, and how I structure my answer to write for an educated adult audience.